Welcome back in this segment of the Sports Source, brought to you by H&R Block. It's tax season. Hooray! If you want to make sure that you get your taxes done correctly, that you get the most money back, that you have someone to work with you if the small chance you're audited comes about, go to H&R Block, just as I do. I have for years. They have offices all over East Tennessee to take care of you. HRBlock.com, the website, HRBlock.com, to find the office closest to you here in East Tennessee. Again, these are the folks I have used for many, many years, H&R Block. All right, if you're the NCAA guys, how do you handle these charges once the FBI makes them all public knowledge based on what we're seeing? Again, some are bigger than others. So let's say Colin Sexton. If Alabama's being truthful, they sat him at the first of the year because they knew he had some deal with an agent and it was taken care of then. Let's say half of them. Let's say half of them are that. Let's say the other half, 15 schools we'll go with, 13 schools or something. How do you handle it? Do you launch 13 different investigations that will take forever, or do you come up with some sort of one-size-fits-all?
Let me just, before we come to the solution, I'll bet the number is going to grow, not shrink.
Right.
As more stuff goes out.
Probably, yes.
And I think if you're the NCAA, you're going to give the schools a chance to look at it and offer to do some punishment, and you're going to break it down into almost like misdemeanor, felony, all the way down the list, and then there will be some serious punishment. And my thing is, I'm looking at the one and done. I think that's the root of a lot of what the problems are, and I think those players may end up going to a different place and not college for a year if you don't change that one and done rule.
Which is an NBA rule, not an NCAA rule.
Exactly.
I think if the NCAA takes over, that'll be resolved in 2030.
Right.
So what I would do was I'd tell every school, you have to self-investigate this, everything you can. Then your commissioner of your league, which you hope is somebody strong, which I think Greg Sankey in the SEC is, then he's going to oversee that, and then it gets to the NCAA. And I think you could expedite it that way. Other than that, I think that if the NCAA decides to look at all these, it'll take forever. So I think each school has to do. Now,
yes,
some schools are not going to.
That's right.
They're going, well,
we're going to duck it and dodge it.
And they could, but that's where your commissioner has to come in and say, wait a minute, you didn't dot all your I's and cross your T's here. So I think that would be the way I try to handle it.
That was going to be my idea. Do it at the conference level, and your punishments, I think, could even be given out at the conference level. I think this is too big for the NCAA. I mean, it really is too big. Look at the North Carolina situation and how long that has just drug out forever. And I just think it's too big for the NCAA, and I think this is probably the beginning of the end of the NCAA.
And how long has the NCAA just looked the other way? Why so many people knew what was going on in the AAU leagues and the sports.
But they have a small staff. I mean, one of the reasons their cases take forever is they have a small staff of people.
Yeah.
Which is another thing they need to correct.
Well, and they also don't have subpoena power. FBI's got a little more power to do these investigations than the NCAA does. All they can do is, if you lie to us, we're going to do something bad. That's all they got, which is why they take it so seriously when somebody lies to them, or at least they used to before the Miami case blew up in their face.
I felt for years they needed to not only add to that staff, but they need to be permanent. You can't have volunteers from schools on the Committee on Infractions because they meet every, 2 or 3 months? That's not good enough.
I agree, but I disagree with that too. I think then you add to the bureaucracy of the NCAA, and I just think the better thing to do is let's back up and let's do something else. We got to reinvent what we have.
That's a huge undertaking, and nobody in the NCAA is going to say that. So how do you start it?
I just think that the NCAA adding people to them just adds to the level of
What do you do?
I disagree, obviously.
This is so big, and we're so early in it. I don't have an answer. I'll be honest. I could make up something, but I don't have an answer. I think it'll fall down to the schools and the conferences.
Okay. Tell you what, I'm sure we'll be talking about this one more, so I've got one thing I'll throw out there, but I'll tease you. It'll come up in June. What we're going to do next, though, all right, you had a signing day. It was a good signing class, but it wasn't the signing day everyone wanted. Jeremy Pruitt's already come out and said you're going to be 8 to 10 men below the scholarship limit. Now your best player's out for the spring. How much is the 2018 expectation level being impacted right now for the Tennessee Vols? Come on back on the Sports Source.